What an inspirational show today. Just loved those interviews and that panel discussion. And I'm going to pick up from our panel discussion with David Sanker, where he spoke about his business, what he spoke about, which is about a de-risking strategy for many small businesses who don't know where they're going to be in the next 3 or 6 months. And so in my impressions of today, I want to talk about minimizing risk and maximizing options. I learned from a very wise man that as an entrepreneur, that's our function. Our function as entrepreneur is only 2 things, is to minimize risks in our business and to maximize options. I want to leave you with 3 points on each to think about. So let's talk about minimizing risks. So the first thing that I think is important to do is get your team to identify risks. It's very important that risks are not perceived by you alone, and that you are getting a broader perspective of what the risks are in your business. Frame to your team that they need to find all the possible risks to the business and start to log those risks. Second thing to think about is to create more than one mitigant for that risk. So many people say, oh, this is the risk and this is the mitigant. The truly good entrepreneurs are thinking about 2 or even 3 different mitigants to that risk, because very often the first mitigant might not work, it might not be practical, and so you need a second mitigant. It's about the mitigant to the mitigant. That's quite interesting. Okay, and number 3, ensure that your mitigants are practical. Too often I see entrepreneurs, when they put their log of their risks on the one side and the mitigants on the other, and you look at what the mitigant is, then you say, but you can't practically do that. So ensure that you're quite sober in the way that you look at your mitigants and ensure that they are practically applied in the business if necessary. Let's talk about maximizing options and 3 things to think about there. I think the most important thing is that you've got to adopt a more than one way attitude. So if your mindset is that there's always more than one way to do something, there's always more than one option to do that, then you're constantly on the lookout for the other way. If your mindset that there might not be a way or there is only one way to do something, then that's indeed what you will find. So I see with successful entrepreneurs, they adopt a point of view, a mindset that there is always more than one way. Number 2, play the what if there were no constraints thought experiment. So sit down with your team and say, if there were no constraints in this business, in other words, we didn't have financial constraints, time constraints, skills constraints, what would we be doing in this business? That'll open up your mind to various options that you might not have thought about right now. And then, of course, it's important that you try and find a way back to reality from those points. Very important thought experiment to do with your team. And thirdly is just a comment around how you view innovation in your business. Innovation, for me, its biggest value is that it's the source of all options. And when you have more options, then you have a higher probability of sustainability and profitability.